Today I wanted to share with you an impromptu speech that I recorded of Lewis Howes about 2 years ago when he came to San Diego for his book tour, and this was the last stop on his tour for this book, The School of Greatness. Now, he does have an online program that goes with this, so this book and his speech were about 50% of his background and also 50% inspiration on how you can start a business. It's about 20 minutes, but I did put timestamps for you in the description below if you wanted to skip ahead, but I found him very inspiring and I really like what he had to say. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Pretty Fabulous, and I help online businesses create beautiful digital downloads using Adobe InDesign. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday, and I do unboxings on Saturdays. Today I wanted to share with you a clip from Lewis Howes' impromptu speech that he gave at his book signing. Now, to go to this book signing, I believe we had to buy a ticket ahead of time for $12, but it didn't include the book. And in fact, he did sign it for us, and I included a picture. When I say us, I went with 5 of my other friends, and he gave us all a hug when we got up there. He was very warm and genuine, and just in general, I got a really good vibe from him. If I had to do my top 3 takeaways from his impromptu speech, the first thing is, no matter what path you're going down, especially how he was going down being a, football player and things didn't work out because of an injury, you can always turn things around. And just because you were planning to do one thing doesn't mean you aren't going to be great and amazing at something else. The second thing is having a vision is completely okay, even though you've never done anything like that. If you want to be an astronaut and you've never even flown in an airplane, that is totally okay as long as you can imagine it. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's basically what he's saying when he says it's okay to have a vision even though you have no experience or any skills whatsoever related to that vision. And the third thing is he just hung out with people and it sounds like did free errands for them and was their admin just so he could be around them and learn from them, which is something that I believe Tim Ferriss talks about all the time.
I'm going to ask that everyone hold your conversations for a second. So if you're standing next to someone who's talking, look at them in the eyes awkwardly until they stop talking. So everyone in the back, all the beer and sponsor reps, we love you. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to ask again that everyone be quiet for a few minutes, just so it's not distracting for me and everyone else around you trying to listen. It would mean a lot to me. So I'm just going to speak for a few minutes, and then I think we're going to do some Q&A. Is that right? So first off, I want to say thanks for Zlata for putting this whole thing together. I just showed up and she did everything. So if you guys ever want to do events in the future, she might be a new event person talking. This is the 15th city, the 15th stop on my book tour, and the final stop. And it's such a humbling experience to see so many people come out and support me. You guys have no idea how much it means the world to me. So first off, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for showing up. I know you guys have busy lives. And I know you have other things happening, and it means a lot. Quick question, how many of you have ever listened to one of my podcasts? Just show of hands. Awesome, okay. How many of you have never heard about me before today and a friend dragged you out here? Raise your hand. Awesome. Thank you to the friends that brought them out there, or brought them out here. It means a lot to me, and hopefully you'll listen to the podcast. I just want to share a quick story about my experience over the last few months with this book launch, and then we'll again open it up to Q&A because I have no clue what you guys really want to hear. So 8 years ago I had a dream. I had a dream of becoming a #1 New York Times best-selling author and inspiring people all around the world. And it almost came true. We hit #2 New York Times. And it's been an incredible journey. My high school girlfriend is actually here, but I haven't seen in 12 or 13 years. And I remember I was just talking to her, I was like, it's so good to see you. Could you ever think that a scrawny kid from Ohio could ever create his dream like this? And she was like, it's unbelievable, I'm really proud of you. And I was like, I'm really proud of you for believing in me in such an early age when I didn't even believe in myself. And it's been an incredible journey because so many people have believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And I know there's a lot of people here who you may not believe in yourself right now, And it's okay. You don't need to fully believe in yourself. You got to surround yourself with people who see what's possible for you in the future. And I'm going to talk a lot about vision, because for me, 8 years ago when I was on my sister's couch with a broken wrist and didn't know what I was going to do next, I was in transition. I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have a college degree yet. I was a 23-year-old bum with a huge ego and nothing else to show for that. And I remember saying to myself, one day I'm going to write a book and I'm going to do these things and I'm going to make millions and I'm going to do it and it's going to be amazing. But there was zero evidence that that was even possible. There was no evidence on my sister's couch for a year and a half, as I wasn't getting any opportunities, that any of this would be possible. And as I was talking to some of you guys here who were telling me about your dream, and you're like, well, it's just really hard right now. It's really challenging. You know, there's no evidence that I can make something of myself. And I'm here to say that it doesn't matter if there's not evidence, if you've got a strong enough vision and you surround yourself with the right people and you find the right information to develop the skills and the tools, then it's all possible if you're committed to that vision over time. Again, it was 8 years for me to make this happen, and it was much longer than I wanted to, but it happened. You know what I mean? It happened, and it happened at the exact right time. Because if this would have happened a year ago, I wouldn't have been fully ready emotionally. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I wouldn't have been able to take it in stride, hopefully as gracefully as I have been, you know, this last year. I don't think I would have been able to deal with it. And so I just want you guys to know that everything is perfectly timed for your life, for your business, the relationships, the careers. It's all perfectly timed if you trust the process. This last month has just been an incredible journey. And if anyone's ever interested in doing a book launch, I'm telling you, it's a whirlwind if you want to go this big. It's been a lot of energy, but it's so worth it when you commit to that vision and you put it out there in a big way. So what I want to do is, again, finish up by saying thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's incredible to see people show up and support me in my dream. And there's no way that I'd be able to do this without everyone supporting in such a big way that you guys have. I mean, each one of you have stepped up to support me, and it means a lot. It means a lot to me. So thank you again, all so very much.
If you're interested in this book, it is still available on Amazon. I will leave a link below. He has a new book called The Mask of Masculinity, which I have not read, but I will leave a link for that. If you liked his message today, you'll probably like that as well. And he has a ton of online programs that you can find on his website. Comment below and let me know what you thought was most interesting as a takeaway from Lewis's speech.
Like the challenges that I had as being dyslexic growing up and not having any confidence in myself as a writer, and thinking, would anyone actually read a book from a dyslexic guy who almost flunked out of English in high school? So for me, the biggest challenge was letting go of thinking that I had to do it all and finding a great team to support me. So great writers, great editors, proofreaders, the right publisher, the right agents, everyone. So it wasn't like a one-man show, it was like a 40-person show to do the book. So that was the biggest challenge. You're welcome. What keeps you up at night? From Wendy. Wendy who? Raise your hand, Wendy. What's up? What keeps me up at night? You know, to be honest, it's I never feel like I feel like there's so much to create. I feel like there's so much to create, and there's so many people that I want to impact in a positive way. So I'm always thinking of what can I do, how much more energy can I put out in the world to create. I feel like we're all born for a reason. And the reason I was born, at least right now, my current mission is to serve the maximum number of people, 100 million people. And so for me, it's constantly thinking, how can I serve more people in an inspiring, powerful way with the right tools, information, education to help them achieve their goals. So that's what keeps me up right now. What's the best way to get in the best mindset to start a day right? Lori Moran. Lori, good to see you. For me, it's about a ritual. It's about creating a ritual in the morning. And lately I've been using Headspace. Does anyone use Headspace? Raise your hand. I tell you what, that's like changed the game for me. I did a 13-minute guided meditation for about 12 years, and I just started doing this, and I really like it. And for me, it's every morning starting with gratitude, starting with this meditation, and then creating an intention for what I want to do that day, as opposed to just waking up and getting on my phone and start working. It's saying, what do I want to do today that's going to make the biggest impact in my life and other people around me? So that's what I do. And I also like to work out in the morning because that gets me feeling good about myself. So that's what I start with. Okay, this is from Gilly. What's the best way to get over yourself? I.e. stop holding yourself back mentally, professionally, and physically, is that what you said? Yeah. Best way to get over yourself and stop holding yourself back. Who is this? Who is this? Okay, cool. Good to see you. You know, it's a good question. I think surrounding yourself with good people who will lift you up as opposed to negative people is the best way, in my opinion. And having a clear vision. I think when people don't have a clear vision, or when they're just wandering from thing to thing without a purpose, then we're going to be more negative, more inclined to be like, what am I doing? I'm not good enough to do anything. I don't know what I want. So figure out what you want, at least for this year, and just stay committed to one thing. That's what I would say. Hi, Lewis, with a heart. What's your biggest fear? Heart, heart, kiss, Julie. Where's Julie? Julie, good to see you. Is she hiding? Oh, it's good to see you. My biggest fear. Do you want to know the real answer? Yes. Or some fluff answer? The real one. The real answer.
Keep it real.
The real answer is that that my mission and my vision, that I won't think I'll be able to have the love of my life while pursuing my mission and my vision. I haven't been able to experience feeling free in a relationship to fully commit and fully go into my vision and feel like I'm not going to be held back in any way. So whether that's my own internal conversation that I get to like shift and just reframe what free means, or if it's finding the right fit or one of those things, it's the fear of like I'm going to be achieving my dreams alone for my whole life. That's the fear. Is that real enough for you? Advice to your younger self. Is this Jat? J-A-T? Jax. Is this your cell phone number too?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah. Well, this is.
Oh, okay. I was like, why is it saying
In answer to your
advice to my younger self. Which age?
Let's say coming out of college.
Out of college. Is this the question, like if you could go back to the start of your business, what would you tell yourself, or that type of question?
Yeah. The world.
The world.
Like your business, just kind of looking at it.
What would I just tell myself in life? I would tell myself that it doesn't matter how hard it gets ever, that it's always going to get better. It's never going to be that hard for long. Like, no matter how much pain and suffering I go through, it will get better. I would also say that don't try to have it all figured out right now. And don't try to feel like you need to know what your vision for the rest of your life is, and you're going to be doing what you think you want to do right now for the rest of your life. Because I believe we go through different stages and different assignments. I was a football player, and then that ended, and I could have been fixated on living in the past of my identity of being a football player. But instead, I was like, what's next? And how can I take it with my full heart and full passion? So I would say, if you're suffering, it's going to get better, and follow your dream, and your dream may always be changing. You like that answer? Yeah. Okay. This is from Michelle. Number one piece of advice for a small business owner. It's tough to give advice without context for a small business owner, but I'll give 3 things that I would do if I was starting a business. If you guys can be quiet in the back, I hate to tell you to be quiet, but I just want to make sure everyone's not distracted. If you guys want to go in the next room or go outside, completely cool. Number one piece of advice. I would say your personal brand is the most powerful thing. The perception about you is actually what's real, is what people think about you is actually what's real about you, to the world at least. So that means really diving into building your personal brand, doing things to connect with influencers, making sure your design is at a higher level than everyone else in your industry, so you are positioning yourself at a better level. Working on mastering one thing in your industry, becoming an expert at one thing, so that you can pitch to press that one thing and get featured more on the news sites and the press, because I believe that's going to, your brand equity, your personal brand and those relationships, it doesn't matter what happens to your business, you'll be able to leverage that for the rest of your life. So that's the advice I would give, focus on your brand. Favorite Pokemon character? There's no name there, so I'm not answering that. I don't even know any of the names of Pokemon. So. Favorite book? School Greatness is a pretty good book. My favorite book is The Alchemist. When I read that in a challenging transition from after college. I read this book. I remember being like blown away by the story and how simple it was. So I recommend going and checking that book out if you're specifically trying to figure out what your dream is and what's next. What does true love mean to you? What is your definition of love? Nicole, definition of love. I think my definition of love is doing whatever you need to do to make sure you feel like you matter.
Yeah, I love it.
Because it doesn't matter how much you love everyone else, if you don't feel like you matter and you don't love yourself, then you're not living the definition of love. And I feel like it's hard to be just loving everyone else but not doing what you need to love yourself. That may be a selfish answer, but I feel like you've got to fully appreciate yourself in every moment of life and love yourself fully so that you can show up in a powerful way and serve other people. So hopefully that answers that question. That's it. That's the last question. Let me see if there's 3 more hands. We'll do the first 3 hands that show up. If anyone wants to answer a question, there's 1 there, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, we'll use 4. So we'll start here. Question. Go ahead.
I'm Thomas.
Tell me what you're most grateful for, Thomas.
I'm most grateful to be here right now at this current moment. But that's a follow-up question to that. Since a lot of us we've listened to the podcast, hopefully read the book, and you've given a lot to us, what can we do to show our gratefulness and give back to you?
Thanks for asking, man. Being here is a huge support, and it's very humbling that you show up and give me a few hours of your time. It means a lot to me. The biggest thing you can do, the biggest thing that anyone can do, is if you love the book and you love the podcast, is to share the episodes online with your friends. Email the episodes to your friends, tell your friends about it. We're at 1.4 million downloads this last month, and my goal this year is to get it up to 2 million downloads a month. So, if everyone shares an episode a week with a friend, it's going to continue to grow. So that's what I would love to see if you would support that. Yeah. Thanks, man. What was the 3 other questions? Yes. Trish, right?
Yes.
What are you grateful for, Trish?
What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for all the mentors and people I've met that have been a really good community to push me forward.
Cool.
So, if this was your last day, and all your podcasts, she pulled one of those, disappeared, and you had nothing left, what would be the 3 truths that
3
you
truths.
share?
People have been asking this on the tour, and what's my definition of greatness? I'm sure that's coming. So my 3 truths. Okay, I'm gonna say what's coming to me right now. I don't know if it's the same thing I said before, but I'm gonna say what's coming to me right now. Is that number 1? Okay, let me think. I always put my guests on the spot. So number 1 would be that to always come from love in every situation. Always come from love, if possible. And I say that because sometimes I don't always come from love, so it's a constant reminder to myself. always come from love. It doesn't mean to be a pushover and allow people to screw you over, but come from a loving place as often as possible. Number 2 is that your dreams matter and are the most important thing in the world. And what else are we here to do if it's not to figure out and pursue our dreams? What else are we here to do? And number 3, it's our duty to make the maximum impact on other people's lives around us. I believe, again, the world, we came here for whatever reason. We were born for whatever reason. Who actually knows the real reason why we're here? But we're born into such an incredible world to show us amazing opportunities. And it's like a huge playground. And I feel like we were given so much for no reason, and we should constantly be living in service to impact as many people as possible around us. So that's my 3 truths. Yeah. Thanks for the question. A half clap. I love that. 2, what were the other? Yes, sir.
All right.
Who is it? Udit?
Udit.
Udit. Cool.
What am I grateful for? Having a girlfriend that believes in me and pushes me.
Oh, brownie points tonight. Yes.
All right. My question is, how do I get a hold of the music from 5 Minute Fridays?
LewisHouse.com/playlist. It's like a secret link that I never promote. Check it out. LewisHouse.com/playlist. I think it's playlist or music, so try either one. Question? Yes.
So I'm grateful for being with everyone here tonight and running into old friends and meeting new people. My question is, so I sometimes feel schizophrenic because I have multiple visions. And it's hard to decipher which one is actually the right path. Is it like, because I heard you talking today on your podcast, like, oh, I would love to be a singer on stage, but I'm not really, born to do that. And how do you know what is going to maximize your skill set, but also something you're really passionate about?
I think you figure it out through trial and error and years of messing up and getting closer and closer. I'm 32, and I'm just now feeling like I'm getting a little bit of a stride. It's like I feel like I'm just starting to take a step forward towards the right direction for what I'm supposed to do. And the last 32 years was just practice, developing skills, experience, meeting people, messing up constantly, hurting a lot of people, hurting myself, to figure out, okay, none of that worked, now here's what I feel more called to do. So let me just start working on it. And it's just beginning now, you know what I mean? It's like the first day I feel like I'm beginning. And it may evolve and change. In a couple of years I may be like, I'm kind of over this dream. Or now I'm supposed to do something else. Now I'm supposed to be in politics. I don't even know. You know what I mean? But I don't think I ever want to get into politics. But I'm saying you never know what I'm going to be called to in 10 years. So it's you don't have to figure it all out. Just follow what you feel is most true to your heart right now. I believe that's all we can do. Don't be worried about, oh, is this what I want to do in 10 years? So I'm going to do something else. Just do what you want to do right now. Yeah, as long as you're happy, you're healthy, you're supporting other people, you're making enough money to support yourself, and you're having a good time, I feel like that's a pretty good life. Yeah. Let's see, how many more questions do we have? Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll do a few. Hold on, just keep your hands up if you have a question. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, final 9 questions. Is that cool with everyone?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear more questions, or is this? Okay, cool. So we'll do these final 9. If you raise your hand, we'll answer those questions, but I want to make sure we get time to sign books and everything. My friend in the back, what are you most grateful for? And if we can keep it down, please. If you guys want to talk, please go into the other room.
My question for you is, when you were 23 and you had zero evidence, but you were 100% sure that you knew what your vision was and that you were going to get it, what did you tell yourself in that year and a half before you started seeing results? Like when you were hitting speed bumps or certain unknowns, you didn't know how, but you knew you were going to get it.
What did I tell myself when there was no evidence, but I knew that was my vision that I wanted to go after? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, in that year and a half.
In a year and a half. I mean, I didn't tell myself anything good for the first year and a half. I was like a depressed little bitch, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't anything good. Once it started to shift, I was really more spending time with some key mentors in Columbus, Ohio, who just made me feel better. They were inspiring me. And what I would do, to be honest with you, is I would look myself in the mirror every morning. This may seem like ego-driven or something, but for me it's what worked. I would look myself in the mirror and just say, I believe in you. And say it over and over again until I actually felt like my chest expand and like feel like confident about myself. That may seem like weird or woo-woo or something, but it's like I would just look myself in the mirror and say, I believe in you. You can do this. I believe in you. It's like some Rocky training movie, I get it, but it's like it worked for me. So that's what I do. Yeah. Okay. Question, my man.
Oh, I get the mic. So, what am I grateful for first? Okay, to keep it real and not flowery at all, I went to Hollywood yesterday, clear from down here, and what I'm most grateful for is the freaking time I live in. I pulled out my phone and put in the GPS, where to go, and it was going to take forever to get there, and then my phone said, there's a faster route available. And I got to click yes on that, and I got there faster to make it in time for my event. That was just like, holy crap, I'm so glad I live in the time period I live in. So, now to make it deep. My question is, you talk a lot about vision. You're going after your vision. What do you do when you're doing the things and you are in the deepest hole emotionally, where you can't turn to some other vision because you know that's it, but at the same time you're just down? What do you tell yourself? What do you do for yourself to get you pushing forward when you're in that space?
That's a good question. I would say that you allow yourself to feel down. Allow yourself to feel all the emotions, and don't try to block it out and try to act like they're not there. So fully experience them. Scream if you need to scream. Cry if you need to cry. Beat yourself up for 48 hours and let it all out. And then surround yourself with people who are going to support you, who are going to love on you, who are going to hug you and say, I believe in you. Because it's hard to get out of it on your own. So don't try to do it on your own. It's really hard. And the bigger your dreams are, for me, I dream really big, and I can also fall really low, because I just like go that big. And so it's hard to get out of an emotional wreck on my own. So I hang out with, Sarah, my assistant, and my best friend Matt, who works with me. They're both from the Midwest, and they just like hug me and lift me up. And they're like, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. How can we support? So don't try to do it on your own. I remember a few years ago when I tried to do it on my own, I watched Weeds, the show on Netflix, for literally 2.5 weeks. I watched all 80-something episodes by myself, and it was like the most depressing time of my life. But it was so addictive watching the show. But I didn't reach out to any support, and so I just stayed there for a couple of weeks, you know what I mean? So reach out to support, don't be on your own, and just hang out with good people from the Midwest.
And she came into my life like at a really good time, and we our visions just meshed like no other, and we've totally just vibed, and we're gonna help each other and support each other. So I'm super grateful for her. And my question for you is about mentorship and how you not only sought out the right mentors, but how you proved that you were worthy of that mentorship. So
how did I find the right mentors? Early on when I was in Columbus, Ohio, I reached out to people that were inspiring me in the community. So I went to a Toastmasters club and found a guy that was a really great public speaker, and I was just like, I love the way you present. I want to be like that when I'm older. Can you show me how to do this? So I would just find people that inspired me and said, hey, I'm going to work for you and do whatever it takes to help you solve your challenges and your problems. So I would give them my time, my energy. I would do research. I would go get them groceries, whatever they wanted, I would do it for them, to just be around them and experience what that was like. So that was what I did early on. Now there's so much available, where there's so many mentors online that you don't have to, do an apprenticeship with. You can just learn from them for free. And that's the reason why I do my podcast, because years ago people would reach out and say, and email me, and I constantly get these emails today about what can you do when you want to start a business and build a product or build your brand. And I was just like, let me just do the answer once and just share the message to everyone, as opposed to replying to everyone over and over the same thing. So I would say just start listening to more podcasts, videos, and things like that to get the mentorship you need from that information for now. But if you really want to work with someone to have them mentor you, then figure out a way. I mean, if it were me and I was doing it all over again, I would find, like I would have said to Jack Canfield or Tim Ferriss or someone, I would have said, I'm going to pay you 20 grand for a year to work for you 40 hours a week. But what I want is, 2 days a week we get to sit down for an hour and I get to ask you anything I want. And you take me to events with you and I'll just take notes for you or answer questions for you or whatever it may be. But for a year, I'll pay you like a master's program fee to learn from the person that I want to be like in 5 to 10 years. I feel like that's way more valuable than going to get a master's degree. I would rather pay someone who's already doing everything I want and just learn from them and then build my relationships with all their relationships and have that access. So that's what I would do. I would fully invest in the mentor. Yes, sir.
First off, what I'm grateful for is I'm from Minnesota, so the fact that it's
Yeah.
right now.
Minnesota.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I actually went to Southwest Minnesota State for a semester in Marshall, Minnesota, one of the worst places in the world. Good people. But when we would go to 3-a-days in the summer, it was the most, I've never seen this in my life. Does anyone live in Minnesota? Or from there, or been there? It's crazy. So, this is like a farm town. And we would get on the field. I remember I put my helmet on, we get on the field the first day. And as I took a step on the field moved. Literally, the field moved. It was covered in mosquitoes. And every step, it just moved to the next step. I could not believe. All practice, I'm just swatting constantly. It was miserable. Anyways, good people. So,
They have to put up with that.
you have to put up with that, yeah.
And my question to you is, if you could interview any 2 or 3 people in the world for your podcast, who would they be?
I mean, The Rock is someone I've been wanting to get since day one. And it's going to happen very soon. I'm very close with his publicist, who I'm texting her every week. I'm like, when's the next movie? When's the next thing? Because he's always got a movie coming out. And she's like, we're going to make it happen. He's just he has 0 time. So it's going to happen very soon. He's one of the guys. I'd really like to get Will Smith. I like what he's done, his inspiration, his career, but just the way he lives his life, I think is really inspiring. I really, for some reason, I think Mark Wahlberg's just a cool guy. I'd like to just kind of hear about his career path and what he thinks. And I think it'd be cool to interview Obama after he's done. But get him play one-on-one basketball with him in just a jersey and shorts on a basketball court, just unfiltered. I think I could get some great stuff out of him. So those are the people that I want to interview next. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks, man. Sir.
Thanks for having us. This is awesome, first of all.
Thank you.
One thing I'm grateful for, I started reading a book lately called Miracle Morning. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
My 14-year-old nephew told me about your book, and so I got it.
Did you email me?
No, but I'll show you a picture. A little 14-year-old
cool.
from Colorado. So you have a big impact. So my question to you is, what? 2 questions actually. If you were to start a podcast again, what would the theme be, and what podcast do you most listen to?
Well, there's a guy in here named John Dumas. He's got a great podcast called Entrepreneurs on Fire. I don't know if he's still here. He might have left already.
He's still here.
Yeah.
John here?
Yeah.
He's gone. Okay. So I wouldn't listen to that podcast. The podcasts that I listen to right now I like Chalene Johnson a lot. She's got a great podcast. Anyone know Chalene Johnson?
Yeah.
I really like Rob Bell podcast. He's like my spiritual compass in moments of doubt. And I like some of Tim Ferriss's podcast, it just depends. What are you talking about? But I'm in such creation mode that I'm not consuming as much right now because I'm seeking the most inspiring people that I can find, and I just want to learn from them. So it's like I'm listening to a podcast by interviewing great people. You know what I mean? So what was the other question?
If you were to start a similar podcast again, maybe a different vein, you have something you think is an unserved category, what would it be? And I'm listening.
I think the School of Greatness is a pretty good name. A different name and a different category?
Maybe a different vein, something that maybe an unserved market that would be a great podcast.
You know what I would do? I would do a spiritual podcast where I interview only spiritual leaders or people who have near-death experiences and what they learned from that, to figure out more of the theme of the meaning of life from the most spiritually minded or aware people in the world. I think maybe that's my next podcast. I don't know. I feel more and more called to toward that in the future, I think. So that's what I would do. Yeah. So maybe call it The Awakening or something. I don't know.
There you go.
Don't steal the name.
I got the URL.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
So I'm Tommy, and I'm most grateful for my health, and I want to just know what your favorite movie is. Sorry, not deep, just...
Just wait.
I really like
Or
the Rocky.
two, you
I really
can
like the
say.
Rocky movies. Just because I
Okay.
watched Creed last week and it got me fired up, and I went and watched Rocky 4 again. And I was like, the montage training scene in Russia, yes, Drago. That went over everyone's head. So.
You taller than you? Drago taller?
Drago, I don't know how tall he is. He's probably 6'5" or 6'6" or something. Yeah. I really like Shawshank Redemption because it was filmed in Ohio, and I'm a big Forrest Gump fan. I love I feel like I'm connected to that character because I always felt very dumb and ignorant growing up. Not as ignorant as him, but it was just I always felt like I was never smart enough. I was Lauren will tell you, I had to buy every grade card. I went to private school, and this is the worst thing that any school could ever do for a kid, is they rank you in your class for your grade of your overall GPA. And I was always in the bottom 4 all through high school. So I just felt like the dumbest kid. I was always in special needs classes. I couldn't read until about my senior year, fully read out loud. And so Forrest Gump, I was just if an ignorant guy like this can achieve all his dreams, then so can I. So I just connected with that character. Yeah. Question. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
What are you grateful for?
Oh, I'm sorry. Health, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you had a 15-year-old son right now and today, what advice would you give him?
I wouldn't give him any advice because it's really hard to listen to your parents and take their advice. It doesn't matter how much my parents said to me, it was hard to always take their advice. Some stuff I did and some stuff I didn't. So what I would do if I was a parent is I would literally take my son, you have a son or a daughter? I would take my son. One of the best things my dad and my mom did for me is they sent me to a Tony Robbins event when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there being what is all this stuff they're talking about? And I was the youngest kid there. They're jumping up around, and I was but it just made me feel wow, there's something that's possible for my life. And I don't know what it is, and I'm confused, and I'm going through puberty, and trying to get a girlfriend and all these other things, right? I'm what is the purpose of my life? When you're 16, you have no clue. So I would say take him to a Tony Robbins conference or something like that. It doesn't have to be him, but just something that's inspiring that can create a possibility and be a catalyst. I think one of the most powerful things that's happened for me along the way is it doesn't matter, people have all said certain advice to me. I've heard every piece of advice, but it's never from the people that in my closest circle that I trust sometimes, or I listen to. I trust them, but I don't listen to sometimes, because we know their stuff, right? We know their own issues. It's when I get a catalyst that says the exact same thing from a person that inspires me, not in my circle, when I take action. So Tony Robbins was a catalyst. He was saying the same things my dad and my mom were saying. But they're screaming to each other every night and having fights, so it's I don't fully trust them, right? Then when I was on my sister's couch trying to figure out how to get to the next level and just do the next thing after football, I got a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And it told me everything that other people were giving me advice about, but it was a catalyst that gave me the tools to move forward from someone else. So I would give him my book or some other book that's a catalyst that says the same thing you're saying or something you believe in, and take him to a conference or something, take him to an inspiring sporting event or something that's going to like spark him to be like, that's what I want to do. I want to take a step towards that direction. So that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sir.
So I'm most thankful for health and the ability to inspire, because we have multiple platforms that we can get out quickly. I do have a question for you. When did you conceptualize the podcast, and why was podcast one of your main things that you wanted to be able to get out to people?
2012, I sold a company and just went through a really bad breakup. I moved to LA for a girl that I fell hard for from New York City. And the night I got to LA, she broke up with me. And I only had 2 bags. I didn't have a place to live yet. I was like Airbnb-ing it. I had already got out of my place in New York, and I was like, mother effer, you know what I mean? And it kind of went back. We were like kind of together off and on for like 6 months, but it was just like a downer. It was just really down time. And I sold my company. I was just like, I'm not inspired about this company I was doing anymore. I sold it, and I was in transition for about 6 months. I was like, what do I want to do next? I was in the discovery of what was next for my life. And I remember talking to a couple buddies, Derek Halpern from Social Triggers, Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income, and Ramit Sethi, a few guys, and John Lee Dumas. I saw these guys have podcasts, so I was just asking them about their experience. And more people were coming off podcasts in 2012, but it wasn't really big yet. And I remember asking them, I was like, how are these podcasts doing for you? And each one of them said it was driving the most traffic to the website, it was creating the most intimate connection with their audience, and it was bringing in a lot of leads and sales. And so I was just like, I don't know what products or services I want to create next or what business, but I know I want to create the deepest connection with people. I want to drive a lot of traffic and exposure, and I want to be able to generate sales. And I just, I've always been a fan of the Wayne Gretzky. I think Wayne Gretzky said this, that he's like, you want to go to where the puck's going to be. And so I was like, the puck is going to be podcasting in the next year. And let me do it now before it's already big so that I can be ahead of the game. And so I remember just having a conversation with a buddy of mine, James Wedmore, and I was like, I think I'm going to do a podcast, but I'm not sure what name I wanted to make it. Should I make it the Lewis House Show? But I feel like that's a little too ego-driven. Should I make it like a marketing or business podcast? But I was like, I don't want to just talk about business or entrepreneurship. And I was like, what really connects with me is this broader message, which everyone tells you not to go broad. They say niche it down, right? And I say it too. It's like if you're getting started, you want to start small and be an expert in one topic, like I did with LinkedIn. You want to become a master at one thing, and then you can branch off from there. And everyone was like, you gotta keep it niche focused, like don't make it broad. And I was just like, I feel so called to make it broader. And I hated school growing up. I just hated it. I was horrible. But I love learning and education and growth. And so I said, why don't I just call it the School of Greatness? Because that's what it's all about. And he was like, I like that name. I was like, awesome, me too. I don't know if it's good. I was like, my intention was not to make any money the first year. I was like, I'm going to do this just because I love it, and I'm going to do it every week for a year and see what happens after a year. I was like, I'm not going to take sponsors, I'm not going to make any money. I'm just going to do it because I want to do it, no matter what. And I think because I went in with that intention, like, I'm doing it because I love it, and I'm in it for the long haul, it resonated with people, I think, early on. And this sponsorship started rolling in within the first few months. And, people asked to be, you were like, can you create an online academy, right? And so we've got some academy members here who wanted to dive in more and take their life and business to the next level. So that's why I started the podcast, because I saw it was going to be a bigger thing. And then it became huge. With Serial coming out, making it mainstream, the press talking about podcasting all the time, the smartphone capabilities, being in the car, more and more people just started listening to it because they were sick and tired of the radio and commercials, that I just feel like I got in at a really good time. And now it's been in the top 50 in the world on iTunes for the last few months, and it continues to grow and grow and brings in tremendous opportunities. I mean, without the podcast, this book wouldn't be available. You know, the advance I got, all the opportunities, the press, you know, it wouldn't be available without starting that almost 3 years ago, the end of January 2012. So it's been an incredible journey. Excuse me, 2013 when I launched it. So yeah, did I answer your question? Yeah, cool. Beforehand, I was like, 16 years ago, I went to one of your conferences, and it was a catalyst for me for what I did in sports. So I was just like, it's really cool to be on an interview right now. And I prepared for that for 6 weeks. I listened and watched every video and interview of his that I could find. I read his entire book. It was like a 700-page book. It was more pages I've ever read in my entire life. And what's that? Money Master the Game. I read the whole thing, and I was just so committed to learning, like, what are the few questions that I could ask him that no one's asked him, and make sure that I'm prepared, and just know everything about him so that I can ask like off the cuff as opposed to like have to look at my questions and wonder. And so many people email me and tell me in person, like, thank you for that interview, because he said things that I watched all of his interviews, and he opened up in a way I've never seen him open up before. So for me, I was like, it was great that I was able to do the work and make that happen. I challenged him to thumb wrestling, yes. And he was like, not really about it. And I was like, dude, let's just do this. And when he thumb wrestled, he was just like, oh, what do I do? He was just like acting like he didn't know what to do. And I beat him, but I like didn't want to hold it down, because I was like, I just didn't feel like he was trying, so I was like, it's all good. Yeah, it was fun. I also really enjoyed Julianne Hough. She really inspired me how a 26-year-old can be that, wise and humble and gracious and also successful. And it was really cool to salsa dance with her. So that was for me fun. Yes, sir. Sydney, right?
Yeah. Thanks. Obviously, first of all, what I'm grateful for probably be at this point technology, because obviously it's brought all these people here and allows us all to communicate and react with each other, and that's pretty awesome. Family and friends and support as well, as you say. My question would be, what advice would you give to someone to help them embrace fear, or take the step to overcome a fear, whether it be something as small as like flying in an airplane, swimming in the ocean, or surfing, to writing a book or following their dreams, just helping someone embrace fear?
I don't know if you're ever going to erase it fully, but for me, what I do when I'm afraid of something is I just say, okay, I'm going to commit to doing it as much as possible. So I was really terrified to speak in public 8-9 years ago. Like, I could not stand up in front of a group of 5 people without feeling stupid, without feeling insecure, all those things, lack confidence. And so I found someone who was a great public speaker, and I said, what's the secret? And he said, you gotta go to Toastmasters, and you need to go every single week and just present and look like a fool until you don't feel like a fool anymore. So for a year, I showed up every single week. I found a mentor who was a public speaker. I practiced at nights. I would work on my speeches all day long. I would practice in the mirror. I practiced with a fake audience. And I would go each week and stand up in front of a room with 20 people and present. Terrified for the first few months, but every time getting a little bit better. So it's literally just, it's like becoming the Batman, right? Hanging out in the Batcave with the bats that you're scared of until you aren't afraid of them anymore. That's like the simplest I can say.
Yeah.
So, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. I think there are a couple hands left, or no? How many hands are left? 1, 2, 3, then we're done. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm thankful for this moment because I feel very inspired. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for coming.
And my question is, I don't know if you answered it. I wasn't good at school either, so maybe I missed it. But
where are you from?
I'm Russian.
Oh, привет.
So, was there a particular moment when you knew that you have confidence? Because to go, you just got it, or it was just, up and down until you got there?
I think, You know, when I was younger, I had like a false sense of confidence. I had like a very big ego, and you know, I made myself be confident because I was very insecure. So I like projected my ego because I was so not.
Like the real one, you know, when you started writing,
Right.
you were talking about how you were so down, and you know, how you felt, and I can relate to that, and how you surrounded yourself with positive people that believe in you. So when did you start believing yourself?
Yeah, when I started believing myself, when I started to step into living a life of gratitude, and started being very grateful for everything that I did have and where I was at and the skills that I've developed. Even though they're not where I want to be, I was just like, I'm so grateful for what I do have. And I'm grateful for the people in my life. And I'm grateful for my health. And I'm grateful for the money I am making, not what I'm not making. So I started living in that space. And just experience over time, building skills. I mean, I worked really hard to develop certain skills. And I throw myself into mastering things, hobbies and skills and practices. And so the more experiences I get over time, I build that momentum, I just feel more confident. You know, at the start of this tour, 6 weeks ago or whatever, the first speech I gave in LA, I was like, I didn't know what to say. And I feel like I'm a pretty decent public speaker. You know, I've done it a lot, but it's like once every 2 months I'll speak in front of 500 people or something. But I'm not like, I can't just show up at any moment and do it. I couldn't before this tour. But now doing it 15 times in a 6 week span, I just feel a lot more confident because I've built the momentum and the experience. You know what I mean? Just doing it and practicing and again, being grateful for each moment. That's for me how I built the confidence. The real confidence, not the false confidence, you know what I mean? And you know, there's probably still a lot of moments where I show up in a cocky, egotistical way, where I have my friends and family check me and say, hey, listen, you like... Of course, yeah. I mean, it's like a dance, because I could show up confident and powerful, but you could say, oh, he looks a little cocky or egotistical. So it's like a dance between confident and also gracious and grateful and humble at the same time. And I think that's like the constant dance I'm in. And it's like hopefully people would see me as confident but not cocky. That's the goal, you know what I mean? But it's like, thank you, I appreciate it. But it's like you have to flirt with the line a little bit, I think, sometimes, and so that's the challenge. The final two. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd say I'm like most grateful for just my ability to like not take things so seriously. You know, just like money might be tight, things might be difficult, but you know, just don't take it seriously. Life, it's not going to be that way forever. So, loving that. And I sort of want to do a follow-up to a previous question. So you refer to podcasting as where the puck was going to be. So it's a room full of like entrepreneurs and people. So where's the next puck going to be? Is it through Periscope? You know, I watch you on Periscope a lot. Is it Periscope? Is it?
You watch me on Periscope?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
You watch the bedtime banter?
Sometimes it's a little too much for me. So.
I would ask Jeff, what do you think the puck's going? This is a guy that is a co-founder of Fortune Builders, which is a multi-million-dollar company, and he's in the leading education space. I would say, what do you think where's the puck going in your mind?
Everything with us is mobile.
Mobile.
Everything is mobile, and making sure that everything you own is mobile friendly, and that you're communicating mobile or even through SMS.
Mobile ads, SMS, everything mobile.
Did we miss it with podcasting?
Did you miss podcasting? I think it's still getting started for some people. Yeah. Like Serial came out a year ago and became the #1 podcast in the world and blew up the world. So I don't think you missed it. I think you've got to be really committed to the marathon if you're going to jump in a podcast. Or you've got to have a huge network or a huge audience already, or you've got to have a different angle. Like you can't just do an entrepreneur podcast. There's 1,000 of those. You got to be like super focused and niche. There's got to be a different angle. It's got to be unique in some way. I think it's definitely possible. Or you got to find a partnership with a big site that you say, hey, I'm going to do a podcast for Elite Daily or Yahoo or some sites so you can get traction. Yeah, figure out a different angle. Don't just interview the same people that everyone else is interviewing, because that's not going to go anywhere unless you have a big site already. Or you do it for 5 years and it just builds over time. You know what I mean?
Slow burn.
So you got to figure that out. Yeah.
Okay.
But where else is it going next? I think the live streaming is pretty big. So the Periscope, the Facebook.
Like
Live.
right now, like you go, you see, like you could really grow yourself huge.
I mean, there's so many new platforms coming out. Like Snapchat is still growing. I feel like there's so many new platforms. If you can master one of these platforms, you can leverage that to the next thing. Yeah. The last question, hand, yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Scott. I'm grateful for my wife who trusts me to keep becoming a better person.
Is she here? Oh, too bad. Lucky man tonight.
My question for you is, with everything you've learned and played with on a quality of self-practice for health and longevity, whether it's play or meditation or who knows what, is there something you can see yourself still doing in the 80s, in your 80s, that just resonates like yes, that's still towards you later on in life?
I think meditation, when I started, I started a guided meditation, an audio track that I would just listen to. My sister Heidi gave me when I was in college. And I remember once I started listening to this one track, like the next month I broke a world record in football for the most receiving yards in a single football game. And then like I was the second leading receiver in the nation. And then like I just kept like breaking these records and like these personal dreams of mine. I just kept achieving everything. I was like, it's either coincidence or there's something to this meditation thing. And I think it really allowed me to visualize my dreams in a powerful way. And I think a lot of us, at times, forget to dream and to allow ourselves to focus on our dreams. And we're so focused on connecting to our phones or just being reactive and busy. And so when I took the time to visualize every single day, I would see myself creating what I wanted to in my mind in real life. And I would just continue replaying that video in my mind of it actually happening. And 8 years ago, I had the dream to write a #1 New York Times bestseller and to have it in every Barnes & Noble in the country. And I was like, how is this going to happen when I have no experience, no money, no audience, no results, no social proof to make this happen? And what I would do is during my guided meditation, I would visualize myself with my book in front of every Barnes & Noble, right in front. Then I would go walk into Barnes & Noble every single week over the last 8 years. I would walk into Barnes & Noble and see my book on the front, right front and center, and just stand there and look at my book. And now people probably thought I was crazy just going in there staring and looking at books all the time, thinking like, this is my book. But for me, whether it's coincidence or not, my book was in every single Barnes & Noble front and center when it came out, and it's in a lot of them still front and center. And so for me, it's really powerful to play that movie in my mind and experience the feeling of it happening in real life. And when I do that, I feel like I always achieve that. I remember doing this when I moved to New York City. I was like, one day I'm going to be playing in the Olympics and wearing USA across my chest and listening to the national anthem. And I would watch the Olympics and watch these athletes with these gold medals crying, watching the flag and hearing the national anthem with them on the podium. And I would replay that on my mind over and over while I was training for USA national team to try to make the team when I moved to New York City to start practicing. And for 9 months I trained. I finally made the team. I went to Argentina with the USA national team. There's 16 people on the team. I was the 16th person. And I remember standing there my first time with my hand behind my back and my hand over my heart and in tears watching the American flag and singing the national anthem and shaking because it was like I can actually achieve my dream when I visualize it, and not just visualizing but like sacrificing my entire life every single day to work for it. So for me, it's really important to continue to visualize and dream and not just react to the day-to-day stuff that happens. So I don't know if that was helpful. That was more me just going off on my own story. I think that was the last question. I don't want to keep people too long. So thank you guys again for coming here. I'm going to sign books. And my request, since there's a lot of people here, and I want to make sure I get to everyone before they kick us out of here, is just tell me what you're most grateful for. Give me a hug. And if you have another question later, like, don't tell me your whole life story, because I want to listen, but then everyone will be waiting. So tell me what you're grateful for. Tell me how you first found out about the podcast. And if you have a question, you can email me later and I'll get back to you. I promise I will. So is there anything left that you want to say? And, so as a lot of us going to say one more thing, I'm going to walk over there and start signing so we can get people signing the books and giving you guys hugs. Again, thank you guys for coming. Was this helpful, this Q&A? Did you guys enjoy it? I really appreciate it.